Welcome back to Gleeboot, y'all. I'm Cullen.
I'm Alyssa.
I'm Hannah.
And we're rewatching Glee and discussing how we would reboot it.
For clarification, I'm watching Glee for the first time. Kind of.
I have not seen the whole series. I've seen most of it. So these early seasons are rewatch for me.
Yeah, we've seen the first 3 seasons, aka the seasons people watched.
AKA the seasons that actually make sense.
So, today we're discussing episodes 7 and 8, Throwdown and Mashup. The Hoedown Throwdown is not featured, so that was a waste.
These titles just get me sometimes.
There were no mashups in the episode called Mashup.
I am really upset about that. But it's fine. Let's go.
Alright, let me just get to my throwdown notes.
Are you ready to throw down?
You ready to throw down? Alright, so it opens on our favorite characters, Schuster and Sue Sylvester, fighting, and we're like in their heads, and Will is like, how did I become this person?
It's in slow-mo.
Yeah, they're just like raging, and we cut to, this is how it all began, and they're at the principal's office, and the principal's like, Sue and Shu, you have to work together to run Glee Club. And then he makes them hug. He requires physical intimacy in the workplace.
So, I actually, when I saw this scene, I was like, Alyssa's going to have something to say about this thing. And the fact that Figgins was like, I went to a leadership seminar, and I was like, Alyssa's not buying that. Alyssa is not buying that. He may have went, but he did not pay attention.
You're very right. I did not buy 1 minute of it. I also did not buy that Will's like, this is not the person I am. And I was just thinking the whole time, are you sure? Because this is what we've been watching the whole time.
Yeah.
Figgins continues to be the worst school administrator ever.
He's like, you can't leave my office until I see your bodies touching. And I'm like, excuse me, this is a workplace.
No.
Yeah, and also the fact that, like, they obviously hate each other. Like, why would you... no. Just no.
Yeah. So they're fighting because he's making them co-run the Glee Club. And they're deciding they're each going to run a performance at sectionals. And Will is talking to the kids about like what they're doing, and Mercedes is like, can we do some hip-hop? And Rachel's like, this is Glee
No, that
Club.
Is not what she said. She said, can we do something more black?
And Rachel said, this is Glee Club, not Crunk Club.
She was so offended by it.
I am really uncomfortable with, like, just another weird racial thing. It's not Glee's strong suit, let's put it that way.
Race?
Race?
Yeah,
handling it well?
I feel like maybe it's just like early season, and they're like, oh yeah, we have to mention the fact that Mercedes is black, otherwise people are going to forget. And I think that might be what's happening. They're like really trying to play that up. But like I don't remember that whole element of them like trying to hit the fact that she's black. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening here.
I mean, fortunately for me, I have eyes. So
there you go.
So after there's that disagreement where like the kids are like, we want to do more black music, and Mike is like, I can What did he say?
I can pop and lock.
I can pop and lock. And
What a good
Will's just
boy.
like, whatever. And
Yeah,
we-
she was like duly noted.
Not exactly what we're looking for. He said something like that.
yeah. What are you looking for? I'm confused.
Is popping and locking supposed to be like specifically Asian?
No, it's a
No.
hip hop move.
Well, then why is like that?
Because he's
Just
precious
because he's
baby
minority?
Mike Chang. Mike
'Cause
Chang
he
is
can
like
dance.
just a dancer. Like that's like his shtick. He can pop and
Oh.
lock.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I haven't got that yet. We're only 8 episodes in, and he's been in what, like 2 of them?
Oh, I love the way
So-
they treat these two random people, like him and the other guy, Matt. I love their random mentions and appearances throughout. It's chef's kiss. It's just terrifically ridiculous. Like, is it this one? No, it's a different episode where we have something to talk about, one of those characters. But no, like the only thing we've seen of Mike really dancing is that time where he was dancing totally off tempo.
To It's My Life / Confessions at the
Yeah, I
banger.
was like, where do you think you are right now? The ballet. That's what it looked like.
Yeah,
So
but he was also high. So.
True. You're right. You're right. You know what? You're right. He was at a handicap because he was high and he was like, he doesn't know where he is.
So cutting from that lovely scene to Quinn's sonogram, and the doctor's like, "Do you know what you're gonna do?" And Finn's like, "Whatever Quinn wants." They're having a daughter, and then he's talking to Will, who took them to the appointment, and he's like, "It's good, no mutations, not even any cool mutations."
That's a great line, honestly.
Finn has a lot of great one-liners. And then then we get, how am I supposed to care for a person, or I think that's what Will's thinking. Yeah, Will thinking, how am I supposed to care for a person? And because he's an expectant father who thinks he is. And Finn is like, no, never mind, sorry. Finn is saying, how am I supposed to care for a person? But he also says, I get all the stress and worry and none of the control. And I'm like, WTF? What?
What does that even mean?
Like, I get that he's like, oh, this is stressful, but I'm just letting Quinn have all the control. But I'm like, yeah, she's the one who literally has to birth a child, so...
I wonder if, like, he also was like, he can't really do much to help because she's the one gestating, right? So she's got to be super healthy and all that. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't know what his role is yet, which I think is pretty normal for a lot of fathers, I would assume. Like,
Especially a teenage boy.
yeah.
Yeah, he might also be comparing himself not necessarily to Quinn, but to Mr. Schuster, who is like under the illusion of being a father and having control over his life and like being able to actually support his wife and his child and having like air quotes control over what's happening.
Yeah, he has a lot more autonomy than Finn does because Finn's still a kid and he's just like in high school. Like at this point, he doesn't have like a part-time job to even make money. So yeah, I think that is actually a really interesting scene. I guess I just like brushed it off because Shu is there. I was like, whatever. But yeah, no, like that's actually kind of explores something pretty interesting. Again, they're kind of doing something interesting to talk about fatherhood. Doesn't happen often.
It's interesting because this episode and the series has a lot of themes about fatherhood and the concept of pregnancy, but only from really a male point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that.
Especially as all the writers are men. So, like, whereas Finn being like, oh, this is stressful because I don't have control is a little more understandable. There's some weirdness that comes into play with it later on in the next few episodes and in this episode.
Yeah, they don't really, like, in that sequence, they don't really pay attention to how Quinn's feeling really at all. Like, she just walks out of the doctor's office and then they leave. So, like, yeah, like we don't get anything really about what Quinn's actually going through until like a couple episodes from now.
And we're gonna talk about that because I feel like there's so much that's unexplored with Quinn, and we're just gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that later.
Okay.
All right. Oh, yes. Okay, so then we cut to Rachel in the hallway, and we meet Jacob Ben Israel, the school blogger.
Yeah.
Who is you? He's gross. What he's saying, like, you have a thing for like Jufros or something, and then her response is just like, ew. Like, she's just
This
me.
isn't the first time we met him, though.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because he wanted her to show her over-the-shoulder boulder holder. Or
yeah, and I died. Yeah, no, like this character, I don't think ever gets anything redeeming about him from that I remember. So like, I hate him. But so this one is interesting because I actually read it as Rachel being selfless and standing up for Quinn, but then like later on we'll talk about how like it kind of wasn't that selfless. So the fact that like she agreed to give him her panties, which weren't actually hers, is just like, children are the worst. These specific children in this specific high school are the worst.
Why did she give him her panties? You might want to add some context to that.
He was just asking, and she's like, all right, fine. He was
No,
gonna, like,
that's not what happened.
he's like, I'm gonna run the story about Quinn being in trouble, and he like rubs his stomach weirdly, and he's like, I will also tell them that like you're really upset because Finn didn't impregnate you. And then he's like, you have to give me something and I won't run the story. And then she's like, what? And then we find out it's panties.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
He's so gross.
He's the worst. So she's gonna protect Finn and Quinn, and then we get to the cheerleaders are telling Sue, who wants to destroy the Glee Club from the inside, that the minority students don't feel like they're being heard. So then we cut to Sue does a spot on Sue's Corner on her local news show, where she's talking about like she's just so anti-racism and it's a shame people are being discriminated against. And she says because she's like 1/800th Native American, which is funny because people say that all the time. So then she's like, racism isn't a laughing matter. So she's like, we're gonna split the Glee Club. We're gonna have Sue's elite squad and Will's squad. And she starts announcing all the names. She's like Santana, but of all the students that could be minorities, but she calls like Artie Wheels because he's in a wheelchair. And she calls Tina Asian and Mike other Asian.
Or is it the other way around?
And
that
she calls
is such a good segment. I actually laughed out loud at that.
It's
I think
so
I quoted
bad.
along to it too because I remembered it. Asian, other Asian, and they're like looking at each other.
She calls Mercedes Aretha.
Yes, like, it's so bad, but there's something really funny about it because she's just such a great performer. I love Jane Lynch.
And she's calling Will out on the fact that he honestly doesn't listen to his minority students.
Mm-hmm.
He really is like, we're just going to do it my way. And she's like, it's a shame and I won't stand up for it. And he's like, what? And we're like, we all saw this coming. And
we're like, I kind of side with Sue.
Santana's in the back, and that's how Sue sees it. She gets a little C. And I'm like, she's loving this because she knows he's racist.
Yeah, I actually wrote down like the only adult drama that I have liked in this whole first season is the Shu and Sue stuff. And like this episode actually had some pretty good moments where I was like, I'm on board with this adult drama. It's very fun.
Yeah. So cutting from good adult drama to we're at home with Will and Terry. Terry the terrorist is on the phone with her sister Kendra, who turns out she's not only the worst, she's also an anti-vax person.
I think they made my kids stupid. All right, shut the fuck up. You're stupid.
I think I know something that made your kids stupid. It wasn't the vaccines.
It's like all the fucking white wine she was drinking while she was pregnant.
Yeah, and then Will is like, oh, I feel powerless in my own pregnancy, or like in my own son being born, like I want more control. And it's like any other character I could get behind being like upset that his wife is trying to make decisions without him about their kid. But maybe just because it's Will, it comes across as like, no thank you.
Like, you don't deserve anything. Shut up. Yeah, I actually totally forgot that Terry was in this episode. Until like at least until like they go to the OBGYN. That's this episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was like the first time I remember her being in the episode. I totally forgot about this Kendra conversation.
Well, I think part of the reason Shu comes off as being such a jerk in this is because this happens after the conversation he has with Finn.
Mm-hmm.
And so Finn's like, I wish I had control. And Shu realizes he doesn't have control. It is all about control. It's not about having an equal part of a relationship with the woman who's having your child. It's about having control.
Yeah, like what does control mean to these two men? Like, do they want to be like, oh, I think we should do this, or I think we should do that, or do they literally be like, no, you should do this? Like, what does it mean?
It's going to be quite a few episodes before they cover Michael Jackson's Control, but I didn't think about it.
So we have to stay tuned.
Yeah. So we back to the school after Will is like, Terry, I'm going to your sonogram. I scheduled an appointment. We go back to the school, and Finn is thanking Rachel for helping him out by covering Ben, and she's like, my dad will have to pay for intense therapy. And he's just like, wow, hardcore, which is the most dumb 16-year-old response, and I love it. And he's like, oh, you're awesome. And she's like, oh, I feel great. And then Ben comes up and is all like, I want real panties. These were fake ones. And she's like, then he's like, I'm just going to kiss you now. And she's like, no, stop it. And Rachel is me in that moment.
Rachel's
like,
everybody in that moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think she's literally everyone.
She's just like, no. I'm just like,
no, thank you.
yes.
Although how she forgot to take off the tag, I will never know.
That does not seem like a Rachel thing.
No.
Rachel, the Rachel Berry I know and love, would have definitely taken the tag off and like, she would have been like, yeah, these are obviously mine. Like, she would have put more thought into it if she like actually wanted it to work.
Yeah. She would have taken the tag off, dragged them in the dirt, and washed and dried them. And then given it to him.
Yeah, no. And then also, like, I feel like that was just a setup so they could have another set of panties. Like, doesn't it happen again and it's like granny panties?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like they were like, we have to set up granny panties. And the writer's room was like, yes. And I'm like, no.
That was their one note for this episode, granny panties.
One no? No.
One note.
Oh, no, yes. Ryan Murphy's like, let's do this exact same sequence again. Granny panties is the punchline. Go. And they're like, thank you. Go back to your other show and do work on that. Go back to American Horror Story. That wasn't out yet, but.
Yeah. So we go back to the minority students that Sue put together, Sue's kids. And Mercedes is like, oh my gosh, did you see Sue's corner? She gets it. And I'm like, honestly, no black person I can think of ever meeting would watch Sue's segment and be like, she understands racism, but okay.
Yeah, like, they make these kids seem so dumb, and I don't remember them being this dumb and gullible. Like, I feel like they're not fully fledged characters yet.
Yeah.
Mostly because, like in later seasons, these characters are much smarter. Even Finn, who's kind of a dumbass, but, like...
He does get smarter.
He's our dumbass.
Yeah, he's our... So then they sing Hate on Me, Haters.
Banger.
It's fun. I don't know what Kurt's wearing. Maybe a denim
I
outfit.
said the same thing. I was like, why is he wearing a fuzzy sweater? And then I was like, God, I cannot wait till he gets a normal fashion sense. Also, like, he wears hats in these episodes, and I was like, this is not the Kurt I know and love. Kurt I know is dapper.
Yeah. This Kurt murdered some Sesame Street characters for his outfit.
That sweater, okay, so I think I had a sweater kind of like it. So this is even before my Rachel similarity, which we will be talking about full-fledged today. Like, I had a sweater kind of like that, but it wasn't like knee length, which is what his was. And I would wear it, like, not in public. I think I was like a house thing. That, like, someone in my family bought this for me, thought it was cute, and I was like, cool, I'm never going to be seen in public with it. And Kurt's out here showing it off. Like, good for you, yes, but also no.
Yeah, it was distracting, but Mercedes can really sing, so it was a pretty good number.
She's so good.
It was. I remembered. It was fun.
Yeah.
I love how you're like, I remembered.
I know.
I remembered that part, yeah.
That's how you know it's really good. Alyssa remembered it.
Yeah, no, that's actually probably really good gauge. Like, okay, how great was this number? Alyssa, do you remember it? Yes. Cool. It must have been at least a 7.
Sue is like, so Will confronts Sue about trying to sabotage him. She's like, you're right, I want to destroy it. Because I want to destroy Glee Club because I don't trust a man with curly hair. She's like,
one thing.
I actually kind of laughed at that.
It was a funny thing.
I was like, that's actually really funny. She has so many great lines in these next couple episodes.
She was like, I can't stop imagining sulfurous birds laying eggs in your hair. She's like, I have a legacy to protect.
I love how he's like confronting her and she's like, yes, a cockfight, perfect. It's like, what is even Sue's life?
Yeah, so then we get back home, and Sue, William Schuster, talks to his wife Terry the terrorist about, like, oh, I'm sorry I was so hard on you. And she's like, no, that's my sister's marriage, and I want not that marriage. Like, and I'm like, okay, so Terry's a little more redeemable than Kendra. Slightly. But she tells him to get down in the gutter. And we cut to Sue being interviewed by Cheerleader Magazine, and she says what creates an environment of irrational random terror. But then she finds out all her cheerleaders have been kicked out of cheerleading because their GPAs went down because Will failed them all in Spanish.
I love the sequence the scene after that where they're in Figgins' office and he's like, last week they tried to make a sign at the game and instead of spelling go team they spelled 2 game, and he goes 2 game. I love that. Like, that is actually, like, that is, like, a really good shoe moment, and that's 1 of 1.
Yeah, 1 of 1. Yeah, she's like, you're endangering my cheerleaders' position as goodwill ambassadors. Because apparently the school had just been letting them pass, and Will's like, no, I'm going to flunk them. And she's like, your psychosexual derangement would be fascinating if it weren't so terrifying.
I love then she like goes out in the hallway and like trashes things. He goes, "Not the kids." I was like, I literally love Rage Sue, not the children.
Not the children, because she starts attacking them.
She like screams and goes, "Ah!" It's so great.
She's like, we all know about your devotion to that dying language of Spanish.
Spanish dying language.
And she's like, what? Yeah,
but
so
she's not racist. Just remember.
She's not racist, but she says, why do they need to learn Spanish unless they want to be dishwashers or gardeners?
She's not racist.
Not racist at all.
Yeah. So she's like, should I blackmail you, Principal? And he's like, oh, I already uploaded the video that you had on me. No one cares. Yeah,
I also like that video. I don't even think is really that bad. I was like, he should just get over it, and he did, and I'm proud of him. But he still sucks.
He sucks.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. He should have gotten over it before he brought the pedophile back to the school.
Yeah, because that's what it was. Like that. Okay, hold on. Great point, Alyssa. So, he was willing to bring a potential pedophile back to the school because that video was going to go up. But for whatever reason, he decided to just put it up there. And then the result of what may have been more blackmailing, like, what did Sue want? She just wanted Shu to just disband Glee Club. Like, that's what she wanted. Far less of, like, a critical situation for that stupid video. Like, God. Now I really hate Figgins. That is crazy. Inconsistencies and disgusting ones.
Yeah.
It's a funny scene, but we'll get to... It is. It's a funny scene.
I just love that transition. We're like raging, and you're like, "It's a funny scene."
It is. I'm too soon off my sister.
You're doing great. You are doing great.
And like, it's my job to keep us moving through this episode. But it's a funny scene, and another thing that we're going to point out that this scene brings up is children's education being at the whims of these adults. So these cheerleaders were passing Spanish because the school was letting them through, and now they are no longer passing Spanish, which could affect their lives. Because Will's wife told him to be dirty.
Basically, both of them are harming these students. Like, either way. Like, either they're not getting the proper education, or their futures are being impacted because Shu is failing them because he wants to be an asshole.
Yep. He shouldn't have been passing them in the first place.
Absolutely. He should have been like, you need extra tutoring so I don't fail you. Boom. That would be the productive solution. But this is a fantasy world, I guess.
Cut to the classroom. This is one of my favorite Glee scenes of all time, where Finn is passing a note to Quinn. And he's like, I came up with a baby name. You know how Gwyneth Paltrow named her baby Apple, and you know how much I love apples. Which is great. Also, shout out to Gwyneth Paltrow, who will be in this show later.
Yes!
And who's starring in another Ryan Murphy show right now.
So, I actually literally wrote Gwyneth Paltrow reference OMG, and then, like, I went to, like, hit enter, and my phone had changed Gwyneth Paltrow to gay egg, and I was like, I'm dying. I'm, like, on the elliptical, and I'm just, like, typing, it says gay egg. I was like, oh my God. Because she was the one who, like, was, like, purporting those, like, weird eggs you stick inside your vagina.
Yeah.
And then I was like, also, she's a friend of the gays. Like, it's too perfect.
So, and he's like, we should name our baby Drizzle. Because you know that feeling where it's, like, raining, but it's not quite raining, but it's still wet outside? And Quinn is like, are you a moron? We're not naming our baby Drizzle.
Honestly, so well deserved. Like, he deserved that.
It's just a great scene.
He was so, like, into it. He put so much thought into it. It was really sweet. It just is a bad name.
He's an idiot. But he's our idiot.
He's our idiot. So that I like that scene. It's a great scene, followed by a scene of he's like, this is happening to me too, you know, and it's like, but like you're not literally giving birth to a child.
Right. I actually just watched Juno today, and like it's kind of like the same experience of like you don't have to have the proof of what happened underneath your shirt every day. So like it's totally different experiences.
And he's like, I wish you were more like Rachel. She cares about us. And I'm like, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say to your girlfriend.
Finn, you fucking idiot. 1, never compare women to each other. 2, don't fucking do it to their faces. 3, especially to one person that you like and are dating, and another person who she knows is in that you're kind of into and she's into you. Like, Finn, what are you doing?
Bad choices, man.
Because she's like, I know some people cheat on their wives or pregnant girlfriends, but don't cheat on me with her.
And it's like, why? What is so bad about Rachel? Like, what do we think?
Yeah, they're always talking about how, like, ugly Rachel is, and I'm like, are we supposed to pretend this?
Are we supposed to pretend that Lea Michele's not, like, one of the most gorgeous people ever? Like, come on. I wonder if it's, like...
I feel like Rachel is the epitome of Quinn's, like, nightmares. Which is, I'm not saying this well, but, like, she's everything Quinn doesn't want and doesn't like. And so if Finn can fall in love with Rachel, then it's like the end. The end of everything.
Interesting.
I get that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really interesting. I didn't even think about it, but like, like, what is it about Rachel that Quinn really just hates? Like, is it because she's like super talented and like Quinn's talented enough, but like Rachel clearly has a lot of potential.
She has a lot of potential and she has a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't rely on anybody else.
That's true. That's true.
Right, yeah.
I also wonder if, like, Quinn's really afraid of getting stuck in Lima regardless of her pregnancy, that, like, Rachel clearly is not going to stay in Lima.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, so maybe it is, like, a nightmare. Like, Rachel's literally, like, everything Quinn might not have. And she's, like, freaked out about it. That's interesting. Wow, look at us. Intellectual conversation.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
All right, let's fuck it up. Let's go.
The next scene is all the Glee Club singing that, I think it's called Ride With Me? Wait, yeah, and I always know the song as it goes, like, must be the money, because when I'm in the club, they always play that, and people sing it, and I don't know the words, but I just know that, must be the money.
Yes, the Nelly classic. Ride with me, if you want to go and take a... Yeah, ride with me.
Yeah.
Wit me, pretty sure. Yeah. I feel like that's one of the only times that they actually sing live. Like, I don't remember that happening very often.
No.
Oh, I remember this. I remember thinking, oh, wow, they must doctor the other songs a lot. Because this is kind of sucky.
Yeah, like... Well, I mean, you have Matt and Mike Chang who are just dancers, so like we've never like actually heard them sing, so who knows what they actually sound like. But yeah, it's kind of cacophonous.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy it the first time or this time.
It makes me think of like all the songs where they randomly break into perfect harmony and they've never practiced ever before. And then I just think of this and I'm like, we're definitely in Fantasy World.
Yeah, let's go back to that other version. I like that better. Pleasing to the ears. Okay,
yeah, it's cute. You see them all together, and then they have to leave, and Artie's like, "Bye, white people," which was kind of funny.
I also thought that was funny. That was a quality line. Okay, so here we have our first Rachel similarity. Okay. Rachel was wearing a black, like, jacket shirt, short sleeves, and it had cherries on it. Hannah had a very similar shirt around the same time. It was gray and only had one cherry on it, but it was, like, the same, like, zip up, same sleeve length. And I was like, I am looking at myself on screen. I'm fabulous.
I own one of Rachel's notebooks. It's on the shelf behind me.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, I have that.
Where's the other one? I think the other one is in the next episode, the other similarity that we'll be talking about. So, yeah, I just wanted to drop that in there. I am Rachel Berry.
She's relatable content.
Relatable content.
So then Rachel's like, because then the kids have to split up. Rachel's like, we don't like what this has become. And Will's like, Sue and her kids have chose to sing about hate, but we're going to take a kinder approach. And I was like, gross. And then they sing No Air by Jordan Sparks.
Yeah, and
the mic suddenly has a lot of reverb.
Well, I was going to say, on top of that, it's Jordan Sparks and Chris Brown who did that song. So I wouldn't say love is really the ideal way to put that. And I feel like Chris Brown had all that shit happen with Rihanna around that time. So I don't know. But, Shu is not known for his appropriateness, should we say, with the children, as we will further discuss.
So
I also wrote, like, they took practice this in the hallway to a whole new level. Like, the hair blowing fan and, like, the backlight. I literally wrote, I cannot. This is my Glee. This is what I want to see.
Hold on a second.
All right. So,
yeah, they're singing No Air down the hallway with air blowing at them.
So there is air.
There is
Nailed
air.
it.
It is a really bad number to pick for a group.
It's also terrible who he chose. I literally wrote that, like, Shu is the worst because he's, like, rejecting the fact that he knows that two of his students, one of whom is pregnant with the other one's child, what he assumes, are dating in the same group, and he doesn't put them in the number together. He's literally, like, jeopardizing these children's emotional stabilities because of this. Like, he's making things worse for himself.
And Quinn looks so pissed during the number, and I'm like, relatable content.
So relatable.
But Brittany's having a good time. She's like the only one of the three in the back having a good time.
Love
Brittany. Because Puck and Quinn are pissed, and Brittany's like, I'm just here to have a good time.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm having a great time. What is this? Where am I?
So then Quinn, it turns out, is secretly working for Sue.
I mean, we all knew that.
Yeah.
Why was that a reveal?
Yeah, and then she, like, says something about, like, oh, he does hate minorities, and Sue is like, it's so sad people are discriminating against minorities like Puck and Brittany because they're Jewish and Dutch.
Because doesn't she, like, call them your cold people?
Yeah.
Like, she even has a slant against literally everybody. Like, that honestly takes some skill.
And then if we didn't hate that enough, we have cut to Will coming home, and he's like, Terry, you need to take care of dinner when you get home first.
Cool thing.
He wants control in his relationship.
Yeah. Also, like, quickly to go back when we were talking about how, like, she was like, yeah, I set up the OB appointment for you. Like, that's weirdly controlling.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that. But yeah, control.
Yeah, because he won't let Sue's like, pass my Cheerios and I'll give you the Glee Club back, and she's like, no. And then Terry the terrorist and Kendra are at the obstetrician, and Kendra basically exists to make Terry better, but Terry's like talking to the Asian doctor, and she's like, I had a crush on the Karate Kid.
Literally, that whole scene makes no sense. It's literally we open, he's cutting his bonsai, and then he talks about how OBGYN suicide is like one of the highest. And then Terry says something about I was in love with the Karate Kid. And like that doesn't even make sense because like the Karate Kid was fucking Ralph Macchio, right? Some like
Yeah.
Italian kid. I'm like,
Not Asian.
none of this makes sense. Who wrote this? What were they on? I hated that scene. I was like, this is just not even clever.
Because Kendra is like, I'm gonna sue you because you made my kids dumb and ginger.
Oh, wow. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, and so he's like, okay, I'll fake your pregnancy for you.
Which,
'Cause
like,
all-
that's breaking so many laws.
Yeah,
it
like a
has-
ton.
Like, that's
But
like,
I don't understand, how did that blackmail work again? I don't.
She's like, my husband does taxes for plenty mid-sized law firms, and so a lawyer would be happy to represent me.
yeah, and basically bring a case of, like, you did something while I was in labor to make my kids stupid and ginger, and then, like, she's like, basically it doesn't matter even if I lose, like, there's only basically, I think she said 2 Asian OBs in this town, everyone's gonna go to this other one, and you're gonna be ruined, and it's like, this is not clever. I don't know what's happening. There's a lot of blackmail in this first season. A lot of drugs, a lot of blackmail.
Glee
I'm
does
confused.
take place. No. High School Musical takes place in the same town as Breaking Bad.
Does it?
Really?
Yeah, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh my god, you're right. Wait a second. Do you think he worked at the same high school? So while all that was going down, there were children singing in the hallways.
Yes.
I love that.
Well, now I know why they're singing.
Because they're all on meth.
Yep.
That makes sense. They can't show that on Disney Channel.
They're breaking free. They're soaring.
They're flying. Zeke is putting that meth in that
Creme
that
brulee.
That's what the topping is. It's actually meth. He's cooking meth on top of the creme brulee. All right, that's our High School Musical corner.
Yeah, so then Rachel confronts Quinn about being a mole for Sue, and she's like, yes, I know I had ulterior romantic motives, but I'm going to support you. Glee Club will be there to support you when no one else will when you're pregnant. And she's like, you need to rehearse more because you have a lot to express, which is the best theater girl diss.
Honestly, though, she's like, you have a lot of feelings and you need to get them out.
And
so then she does.
Yeah, with You Keep Me Hanging On.
Such a great number.
Set me free,
I
why don't
loved
you,
the
babe?
choreography.
It's interesting because like Quinn does have a lot going on, and at the end of the song, all the cheerleaders leave and she's alone on the field, and I'm like, Quinn is the most popular girl in school, but she still feels so alone.
Yeah, that's some really great blocking. Just some industry terminology for you. No, I don't remember that number from before, so like that was like a fun number to revisit for me because like this is something that I'm pretty sure is like pretty common knowledge for those who like really follow Glee, but like Diana Agron and like Quinn as a character was kind of treated like shit by Ryan Murphy. Like he really wanted her to stay very one note mean girl, and like Diana Agron wanted to explore other things. So like it was nice to see this somewhat of like an insight to what's going on with Quinn.
We're in the first 8 episodes of the first season, and she's pregnant, and he still wants to keep her a mean girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like literally like, so obviously like you'll see what happens, but like she really doesn't grow all that much, and it's kind of unfortunate. Like
She'll
she kind
grow, and then she'll stop growing, and then she'll go back to have grown.
Yeah, it's really strange.
I don't get it, because anyone who goes through large life events like that is going to grow.
Right. Like, I don't even remember what she learns from that experience. So I guess we'll find out. But, like, yeah, she gets a lot of the same, like, repetitive sort of Rachel disses, all those things.
That's weird.
Yeah. Then the Glee clubs are rehearsing for each other, and Rachel's like, "We miss you. We dedicate this performance to you." She starts singing "No Air," and Sue is like, "This is garbage. We're leaving right away." And Finn is like, "Is there a fire?" And Sue's like, "It's bad enough my kids have to live on food stamps." And Mercedes is like, "My dad's a dentist." She's like, but they shouldn't have to listen to this.
Yeah, I'm really glad we didn't have to listen to No Air a second time, so I'm glad she's done.
And Will is like, "You're rude and you have no class. You can't talk to kids that way."
This is where we come back to the opening sequence of them slow-mo screaming at each other.
Full circle.
Full
We
circle.
are at the very beginning of the episode now.
Oh my god. Record scratch. I guess the record scratch would happen in the front.
And the kids then all walk out because they don't want to watch them fight.
Yeah, these kids are literally like, we want none of your bullshit. We want some control in our own lives. Nailed it.
Bum, bum. Which they'll think about 2 seasons from now in a Michael Jackson number.
We talked about the whole episode, but we didn't touch on why it's called Mashup.
This is called Throwdown.
Wait.
We're on Throwdown. Mashup is the next one. Don't worry, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Can I even get through an episode without, like, knowing what we're talking about?
No, you were on board. You said you remembered some things.
Yeah, you remembered hate on me, hater.
Yeah, but it's all messy and mixed up.
We did also, just so our listeners know, we watched 4 episodes of Glee to do 2 separate episodes, and we're all it's just Glee all up in our brains.
It's very mushy.
Yes, so mushy. But like, so this final number, I'm so glad, the most beautiful ballad ever written, Avril Lavigne's contribution to the movie Aragon
Oh, God.
is what I wrote, and I'm like, God, I'm an asshole.
So we're missing some steps before we get to that number.
I literally don't remember anything else.
So we have the doctor faking the sonogram.
Oh my god, no, you're right.
And Will cries, and
It looks like
Terry's
he's sneezing.
Yeah, and Terry's like, "I don't know that having a boy is so important to you." He's like, "No, it's fine if it's a girl. I'm just so in love." And Terry's like, "Remember, no matter what happens, that in this moment we love each other. So when I tell you I'm lying, you..."
And I'm like, ooh, okay.
And then Sue steps down because Will goes to apologize, and Sue's like, "I would have done so, but I have no idea where your office is." And she's like, "I know you care about their feelings as if they're real." And Will's like, who's to say 100% of the things I do are on the ball? And Sue is like, "No one would say that."
Never.
And then he's talking to the Glee Club. "I can't believe you forgot this." And he's like, "We are all minorities because we're in Glee."
Oh my god. I did forget that. I blocked that horrible line out of my memory, and now I've been cursed once again. We are all minorities because we're in Glee. What about... Okay, so, like, we're gonna meet, like, the hockey people eventually. I guess in that same sense, they're also minorities if no one likes the hockey team. So fuck you, Shu.
Wait, so you're a minority if no one likes you?
Essentially. Like, what? How else would you define the Glee Club as a minority?
If you're in
Like-
an unpopular clique, it's the same as generations of systematic racial oppression.
100%. 100%. That's amazing. I hate him so much. And the thing is that, like, they really wanted that line to land, and people be like, yeah, they're minorities. And we're like, mm-mm.
Yep. And then he says, and he's like, because Rachel's Jewish, or Quinn is, and Rachel, and Sue is like pregnant. Because she found out that Jacob Ben Israel she saw him with the panties from Rachel, and then she's like,
The
were you an
granny panties.
Eve who was born a Steve? And it's like, ouch, rough, ooh.
Yeah, yike.
And she's like, there's a special school in Thailand for that, and I'm like, I don't even want to know the meaning of that joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then so she asks him to leak the story that Quinn is pregnant because she feels betrayed by Quinn. So an adult takes vengeance on a 16-year-old. And so then they sing "Keep Holding On" by Avril Lavigne for the movie Aragon.
That's so good. Again, I literally forgot all that stuff happened because I was like, I blocked it out.
And because
I was like, none of it was particularly interesting. Like, I didn't think Sue's whole thing with what's his name, like, I feel like that's a really meh way to find out. Like,
yeah.
Sue's much smarter than that. Like, she knows that something's going on with Quinn. Like, she could see, like, the quiver when they were doing the pyramid the one time. Like, she knows something's happening.
Yeah. But they do sing "Keep Holding On" is one of my all-time favorite Glee covers.
Same. I actually had chills. I actually got really emotional. I was like, this is, like, I really feel for Quinn and her sitch. And I really made that sound really serious by calling it a sitch.
No, but she's in a serious situation, and they're there to support her, and they're all in white. It's a good number.
It's great. I love the choreography.
Of
They
like
just walk
walking
around.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
very
just-
detailed.
I'm trying to remember. It's actually in Aragon?
Yeah, it's the
What?
like the final
credit song.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So this song was written by Avril Lavigne about the relationship between a boy and his dragon. Is now being used to describe a Glee club supporting a pregnant Christian cheerleader.
Ooh, so good.
I love how media works.
Perfect.
Yeah, that episode, and not my favorite of the bunch that we've watched for this stint that we're doing, but there were some things I liked about it. I definitely liked the Sue Shu, like, interactions were kind of funny.
Yeah.
Sue's obviously not a racist, so I'm glad to learn that. And yeah, one of the greatest songs ever written, "Keep Holding On" by Avril Lavigne. You know.
Question. This is for our Glee reboot. Would you keep a character of Sue, or this is what I would do. I would combine the characters of Sue and Will, and have an antagonistic Glee coach played by Jonathan Groff, who's like obsessed with his own vision and making everything perfect, up against our like Rachel protagonist.
Ooh,
Interesting.
I like that.
What would you think? But do you think Sue is an essential part of Glee?
I think
Sue as a character, not Jane Lynch, who's obviously a great
Right.
performer.
Jane Lynch would be the new Figgins, but way better. Would actually know how to do her job.
Yeah.
I think like you're posing like a totally different story, which I actually find to be much more interesting, considering just like how much I hate Will Schuester. So like, I actually think Sue as a character is necessary for this version of the story. But yeah, like if we're doing something that is like the students against the teacher, that actually, yeah, I think it would probably be smart to make them like one character.
Yeah, I think I agree with Hannah on this one, where it's like we definitely are looking at a separate story if Will and Sue are the same. I actually really like Sue's character. I don't like Will's character.
Mm-mm.
So if we could just like mush them together and get rid of Will and keep Sue, that would be great.
So basically, kill Shu.
Yes. That,
Second.
exactly.
Send him to the guillotine. Cut his
'Cause
character off.
Will is a born protagonist, but Sue is a great villain.
True.
A born protagonist?
That's a generous way to describe him.
Yeah. I mean, he's some type of protagonist.
And I mean, Sue's not. I don't know. I wouldn't even say that she's a villain, really, and that comes up later.
Yeah.
But and maybe it's just different because I don't watch a lot of comedies that often, so maybe she is a villain in a comedy sense. But
I mean, she is trying to take down the Glee Club, so she is like the villain in just like the story sense.
Yeah, just like overall,
but she does evolve. Like over the show, like I don't think she's so focused on destroying Glee as much, right? Am I remembering that right?
She rotates.
Yeah, she like she gets other interests.
recording.
So we're gonna streamline things a bit. We tried a different note-taking style for Throwdown, and it was fun, but we went a lot longer than usual. So we're gonna go over mashup, the episode with no mashups, a little more streamlined. It's called mashup because the main storyline is Will, Ken, and Emma. It's like Ken and Emma are engaged, right? And Emma doesn't want anyone to know or attend the wedding, so they're having it in Hawaii. But Ken insists on having a first dance, and they want Will to create a mashup for them and give them dancing lessons to a mashup of I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady.
Sure.
And the Thong Song.
Fuck it.
Emma's the one who wants the Thong Song.
Yeah, no, 100% accurate. Yeah.
Is correct.
That actually would have been really funny if that's how they did it. If she was like, I'm so not taking this seriously, I want the Thong Song for our first song. That'd be great.
And he's like, you can't step on my toes because I have a monstrous case of athlete's foot and I had to remove all my toenails so I might pass out. Which is gross but funny. Fun fact though, my parents' first dance was to a My Fair Lady song.
Okay, so I actually had the question, would someone actually do their first dance to this song? I was like, that seems kind of strange to me, but...
My parents' first dance was On the Street Where You Live from My Fair Lady, which in the movie is sung by Bill Shirley, who voices Prince Philip in Sleeping Beauty.
Wow, hitting us with them hard facts.
Honestly, it would not be the song that I would choose.
No.
But I could see why someone would choose it.
Yeah, I was like, and maybe I'm just like, that's not what I would choose. And so I'm like, do people actually do this? Or is this just like a weird Emma thing? So that's good to know.
I'm more questioning the Thong Song.
No questions. I support it.
That's what Hannah wants to walk down the aisle to.
I have just rediscovered my hatred of that song. Like, it's not a good song.
No.
It's really uncomfortable. And then what happens is just atrocious. So let's jump into that.
Yeah.
Emma and Ken, their relationship is just bananas to me. But like, I want it to be over. I want something to happen so that they're just done and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, I feel like it's so weird because you have marriages of convenience. This is not one of those. I don't know what the heck this is.
It's yeah, like why? Is it just like, it kind of feels like she's just doing it to get Ken off her back, and I'm like, I don't like that.
No.
And
so she shows up to the wedding lesson in her giant Princess Diana dress with a giant train.
That was worn by her now divorced cousin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a great thing to wear. Also to a fucking beach wedding. Like,
Yeah. And so Will's gonna give them dance lessons, but like he teaches her no dancing.
no.
He just sings this thong song.
It's like a Chippendales number without him taking all of his clothes off. I think he takes his jacket off.
And he says, so at the beginning he's like singing and he's like it's what the fellas are like thinking, whatever, and he goes like ah ha 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 ha. And it sounds like the one
Just like
Vine,
that.
the Vine, the Cody Co Vine, where he's like, hey, he's like in the mirror, like holding his dick, and he's like, I just want a girl that I can laugh with. Ha 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 ha. Like, you know that Vine? Yeah. And that's how he laughs, and I'm like, ugh. And he's like dancing around. He's like, let me see that song. And he's like, I'm like, what are you doing? This isn't a dancing lesson.
No, he's literally doing a Chippendales number without taking his clothes off. And that's somehow worse. Like, if he did start stripping, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. But, like, he does this, like, weird... He does, like, plays with her dress.
Yeah.
And he, like, does this weird, like, bump and grind move, like, up to her. And she's like, oh! And I'm like, I want to kill both of you. I hate you. Like, stop.
If the
I
Lord
know.
himself had appeared in that scene to end the world, I would have been like, yeah, I see it. This is the final straw.
I understand that none of our listeners can actually see my face, but I would like to describe the disgust on it.
Yeah. While she's like, are you knitting or crocheting?
I'm knitting.
Yeah, so she's knitting and she's like, ugh. It's great.
Yeah, it was gross, and Ken is jealous. And so what he does is when the football players
Again,
are like
these adults at the
punishing children.
Punishing children. Ugh.
For their drama. So the football players are like, Finn's gay. We won't take orders from him because he sings show tunes. And then he's like, we need more bonding. We're having practice at 3 o'clock. You have to pick football or Glee. And Will's like, I thought we figured this out. And he's like, yeah, but like you're fawning, enjoying Emma fawning all over you. And it's like, true. And he's like, oh, well, I won't encourage it. And after he says that, he goes to the bridal boutique with Emma to see her try on her dress. He's playing with a garter as she does it, which I'm like, another reason you're disgusting. And then they dance to I Could Have Danced All Night.
All right, so back to the football thing. Don't they literally, they're like, what about Kurt? Like, he literally had us dancing to Beyonce like 4 episodes ago, and all of a sudden you're like dancing is gay. Like, what are you talking about?
Inconsistencies!
Yeah. It's almost as if every episode is an alternate universe of these characters.
What you didn't know about Glee is actually a science fiction show in which every episode is a new dimension.
And like what you missed on Glee really does not matter. Like it's actually like it does not matter. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone, but all the same characters.
The interesting thing about Glee is it kind of exists in the period where shows moved from more like procedural, like everything's just like a brand new episode every time, to the world of like we watch on Netflix and we follow along. Like I'm forgetting the word because I'm 3 drinks in.
You talking about binging?
Yeah, not binging, but more serialized.
For comedy. For comedy, for sure. Like, because like we can agree, like this is a comedy, but it also has like dramatic elements.
Yeah.
But it's basically a sitcom in a 50-minute platform.
Yeah. So it's at the time like, oh, the same thing. The same starting situation per episode was like normal, but like now watching it now, we're like, why is this so repetitive?
And then so inconsistent. Like one episode, someone's gonna do something, and 2 episodes, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and they do the complete opposite. Like, this is where like this is a Heavy Shoe episode, and Heavy Shoe doing R&B and hip hop. And it's just,
I forgot about that.
It's so ungodly. Where, like, in this episode, he will do something inappropriate that has to do with the music he's showing to children. And then 2 episodes later, he's like, this is really inappropriate. This music I'm helping you with, Rachel. It's like, it's the
Yeah.
worst. But yeah, so
They sing I Could Have Danced All Night.
I hate this sequence so much.
Really? Explain.
You go first. You be positive.
So, I hate it because it's Will, but
Okay.
I love a good, like, waltz, like, number like that. Like, I eat that shit up. I didn't like the close-ups of Will's face because, like, the Lord spare me. But I thought it was like, oh, this is sweet, romantic. Jayma Mays is a great singer.
Yeah.
I like the song. It's the extras in the bridal boutique being like, this is so cute, must exist in the universe of Hallmark movies.
That and the
like,
Mamma Mia movie.
Yeah. But other than that, I can see why you would hate it.
So
okay, wait. I have to be positive. Surprisingly positive about this one.
Okay.
I feel like this scene is basically just for Emma and to showcase her and her singing voice. Because we haven't actually heard her sing yet, have we?
Mm-mm.
No.
She's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish we heard her sing more. But I honestly, I think this is her fantasy world. This is what she wants for herself. And so that's how the scene kind of played out for me.
Yeah, it's definitely from, like, her perspective. Like, I like the dancing. I like the waltzing. I like the music. Like, I love the song. And I do think Jayma Mays is really great. I feel like the execution with what you said, Colin, the close-ups, the camera work was deeply unsettling. Seeing, like, Jayma Mays is adorable, and I think she's really talented, but also being that close to her face makes me really uncomfortable. I felt like I was in the middle of them dancing, like I was the third person in the waltz, and I was really uncomfortable.
You were Jesus and leave room for Jesus.
Yes, and the 12 apostles.
Maybe we can go like real deep into this and say that this is her fantasy world and they want you to feel uncomfortable.
Because she has an uncomfortable relationship with this married man, as she is gonna be married to some other man.
Exactly.
And no one, like, literally, like 5 minutes ago, so what? Like, maybe a whole day of Glee time. He was like, yeah, no, you're right. I'm basically letting Emma do this. I'm not gonna do it anymore. Boom, he fucking does it again. It's
Yeah.
like there's something amiss, and it's annoying. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, it's definitely from her perspective, and like it's already uncomfortable seeing them in a room together anyhow. So like the way we're supposed to feel like even more discomfort. Yeah, I still hate it, but I think that's a great justification for why it was done that way. I think it's smart in that way, but uncomfy.
Yeah, so he's like, they have the ultimatum, and all the guys but Finn pick Glee. And then Will's like, Finn, you remind me of myself. And I'm like, how?
Oh my God. I literally was like, you're the worst person. How dare you commit this child to such terribleness?
Like, they're putting so much pressure on these kids, like these adults playing games with them, and they should just be able to do extracurricular activities that they want to do. And first off, Will is like, go along, and he takes like 5 steps. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not Mr. Star Athlete here, but I don't believe that is long.
In the sense of sports. I agree. No,
yes, they were throwing the football. Took me a while to figure out what you were talking about.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing because, like, a couple episodes ago, here's what I don't get about Finn going back and forth on doing Glee, not doing Glee, is literally a couple episodes, Emma's like, listen, we just had you apply for this music scholarship because you're more likely to get this than you would a football scholarship. And now this motherfucker's like, Glee's gay, and my football pals don't like me. And it's like... I'm sorry.
Inconsistencies.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you want a future and have fun? Like, you have fun in Glee. Like, shut the fuck up. You know you are. Or do you actually, like, want to just fit in with the crowd? Status quo. High School Musical reference.
Stick to the status quo. Yeah. So that's basically the end of that love triangle. That leads into the Finn and Quinn plot. Finn gets slushied, which is he gets a slushie thrown in his face. I believe this prank only exists in Glee, correct?
You mean it's
so.
not based on the real world?
Yeah.
It might be. I've never been slushied. But
I'm gonna come to Florida and throw a slushie in.
yeah, also it's done by Karofsky, who is the captain of the hockey team. I'm
and
assuming
who will
captain.
come into play later.
Literally, yeah. So that's what it was interesting. I didn't remember him being in the first season like at all. So that was interesting. But also I was like, he is not like even close to looking like a teenager. Like Finn, sure, you could pass him off because he's kind of baby faced and a doofus.
Yeah.
But he's our doofus. But Karofsky is conservatively 35 years old. Like, that actor looks like a 35-year-old man. And I'm like, why is this gentleman here? Like, I don't understand. I hate that so much.
So he's like, yeah, Quinn is pregnant. You are on Glee. Football is no longer popular. And he throws a slushie at him, and then like Quinn's nursing him like he has a war wound.
Yeah, exactly. All these men get nursed like they have war wounds in this episode because they get slushied in the face. Like, yes, I'm sure it does not feel good, but like you don't have shrapnel in your gut, right?
Yeah. So then they go to Emma for counseling on how to be cool.
I love this, actually. It's so stupid, but like kids would do this. I believe it. I believe it.
No, it's like that kind of comedic conversation. You're like, I'll believe this. Like, I'll accept that this happens.
Yes. Like these kids would do that. I 100% believe that.
I'm so glad that Emma was just like, why exactly are you coming to me? What makes you think I was cool ever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that makes it just slightly more realistic. And I was like, okay, I get this.
And then she sees, I hate when they have Emma do this, because she sees Will with like sunglasses going like, ha ha ha. And then she's like, sunglasses are so sexy. So they decide to wear sunglasses to be popular. And they're like, you know, being popular just means you want people to like you. What's so bad about that? And I'm like, true.
Yeah.
And then all the football players slushy, both of them. And
I don't know why they're bullying a pregnant girl. Like, that seems really bad.
Yeah, but I can see that happening in a real school.
Really?
True.
Oh, yeah.
Not to this extent. Like, throwing a slushie in her face, like that's physical assault. Like, that is a physical thing. I feel like gossipy behind her back. But to her face, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, maybe you guys don't know Ohio that well. So, I'm from Ohio.
I'm sorry, I forgot to laugh like that.
Maybe it would be different if she was showing. But
Maybe.
there's no physical outward appearance of her being pregnant yet, so.
Which is something like kind of annoying me that like she's apparently so far along that you can tell the sex of the baby. But I'm like, wouldn't she have to be a little bit more pregnant, like showing more for that time frame?
No, I've heard of people who've gone like 8 months in high school and nobody knew.
Well, no, I'm talking about like the finding out the sex of the baby. Like, don't you have to be like 5 or 6 months pregnant for that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I actually
Like,
don't know.
Yeah, because I was like, that seems really early. But then again, like, we don't actually know how far along she is.
Yeah.
But she's far along enough to know the sex. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know if I buy this. But then a bunch of other crazy shit happened. I was like, that doesn't even fucking matter. What is realism?
So Finn is like, I'm gonna pick football over Glee, and after Will talks to him, he's like, talks to Ken, the coach, and he's like, I'm trying to be a good leader, and leaders can see things other guys don't, and by it, you're like limiting me with football. And then Ken lets him do it. He lets him be part of Glee.
I think that's a really great scene. Like, it's a really great point.
He's like, I can see a future where it's normal to sing and dance and play football.
Yeah, and so he's taking that, like, after wearing sunglasses the whole episode, he takes his sunglasses off and is like, this is the real me. Look into my eyes. And we're like, yes, that beautiful soul, Jesse McCartney.
What I love is that Quinn wears sunglasses, like, for the remainder of the episode.
So good.
Yeah, like, they're waiting for the people to pick Glee or football. Quinn's still in sunglasses.
She's doing this.
She's committed.
No one in the podcast can see me, but she's got, like, her hands, like, on her one hip, and she's, like, looking back, like, she's this, like, regal duchess. It's great. And she's these big-ass sunglasses on. It's so good. It's so fun. Like, that's some good physical comedy. It's so small. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, it's just, like, in the background, she's just wearing sunglasses the whole time.
Like, the thing that really annoyed me about, like, Emma being in the office and they're like, hey, teach us how to be popular, was that she was, like, looking at Shu in front of the two kids and is like, yeah, sexy. And she's, like, fawning. And I'm like, Emma, you're in front of children. Like, that's disgusting.
And then Finn is like, oh, I could be wearing sunglasses. I could be looking at your boobs, and you wouldn't even know it. And then Emma is me, because she's just like, no.
Let's stop that. And
doesn't Quinn, like, slap him?
Yeah.
Quinn's like, oh, stop it.
But I just relate to the characters when they're like, no.
Just no.
Which, that leads into our Puck and Rachel plot. It kind of starts off, Will wants them to create a mashup, and he's like, with one of my favorite songs, Baby Got That. Yeah.
I have nothing to say.
So...
Wait, was it Baby Got Back? Or was it... I thought it was Bust a Move.
Oh my gosh, it was Bust a Move.
This man has had 3 Smirnoff Ices. Our fearless leader. I love it. Yeah, no. Don't they do Baby Got Back in the show, though? If they don't...
Probably.
And they have missed an opportunity for terribleness. Yeah, no, Bust a Move. Okay. So, Bust a Move.
He starts singing it, and he's dancing around, and he's talking about, look at this young girl, you wish you could sex her, as he dances up to Quinn, the pregnant 16-year-old cheerleader.
Before that, he was like, girls are scantily clad and showing body. He's next to Brittany and Santana while they're, like, dancing. Then he goes to Quinn. He twirls her when he says that line. And then he, like, cuddles her face like a weird uncle right after that. And I'm like, okay, so this is our gauge for what is inappropriate, Mr. Shu. Then in a couple episodes, he's gonna be like, whoa, we're crossing a line here. I'm like, do you not remember your choreography? You are disgusting.
And then he says, he gestures boobs over Kurt, and Kurt is just like, his face is dead.
Kurt is me. Kurt is everybody being like, oh my god, no.
Please stop.
Yes.
And I'm like, later it is revealed that Kurt is an atheist. And I'm like, this is the moment that happened.
Yeah, he's like, God is not real. God would never let this happen. So this is Shu's lesson, right? He's like...
Cullen has died!
So this is Shu's lesson. Shu's lesson is, hey, we're gonna challenge you to make a mashup. And, like, we're gonna skip ahead real quick, but, like, at the end of it, he's literally like, everyone's like, oh, we couldn't find a mashup to your song. And he's like, oh, that's okay, the lesson landed. I'm like, do not pretend that you're a teacher. Like, what lesson? This did not land. They failed.
Well, and at the end, Finn joins back to Glee Club and gets them all slushies. Oh, because we forgot, Finn was like, I have to slushie Kurt, and Kurt throws the slushie in his own face.
Such a good moment.
Because he's like, I'll take one for the team. Think about if your football players would do that.
Yeah. Literally, like, Kurt
the best.
is so good. Like, first season, Kurt doesn't get the screen time he really deserves because he obviously becomes much bigger part of the show later on. But, like, first season Kurt, like, you start to see these kernels of, like, what becomes Kurt, and it's just so good. Like, Kurt is such a wonderful soul, and I love him. That moment actually kind of gave me chills. I was like, wow, like, it's true.
Yeah, because they're all in, like, rain jackets to deal with slushies, and Mercedes is like, my weave, and I'm like, ugh.
Remember, she's black, so she wears weave, you know.
Yeah, so that was a little out of order, but at the end, Finn brings slushies, and Will is like, oh, I have a brain freeze, and then they all give him a slushie. They're like, walk up to him, and he's like, all right, guys, you can give me a slushie. And they all slushie him, and it's a moment made for a trailer, and I died. You're speaking with my ghost right now. I hated
it. Spectral image. Yeah, no, so, like, that whole thing. So, like, I wrote, I hope his balls freeze off. But before that, I also wrote, when Emma falls on top of him like, during their first dance, Cullen is dead. Cullen is now deceased. So when Emma first falls on him, like, the first number, I'm like, I hope she crushed his balls. And then this happens. I was like, I hope his balls freeze off. Like, I want him to not produce children. Like, that's how much I hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just Shu being super inappropriate and trying to be a teacher by giving them a lesson.
And Quinn's all like, I'm going to get a slushie every day. And I'm like, Quinn is beautiful. Like, I just have trouble believing just because she's no longer a cheerleader, they're going to bully this beautiful blonde girl.
People are cruel, Cullen.
Oh.
Yeah, true.
Alyssa's been through some shit.
But
I'm saying, okay, like, if there's a really popular girl who's mean to everyone else, and then she's all of a sudden off the pedestal, literally everyone is going to take the time and effort to slushy her.
I actually wonder if that's really what it is. Like, it's not just because she's pregnant, it's because she's now no longer perfect like she's supposed to be, pretending to be. Like, they have now some power over her, and they can treat her like shit now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah, wow. So, we wanted to talk about... Do we have anything else with all these dance numbers?
Oh, we have him teaching Sue to dance. Because Sue, it starts...
Sue! I remember this!
I remember this.
Sue starts dating Rod from the news station, and he invites her to a swing dance thing, and so she asks Will for lessons because she's like, Irma raved about you.
Oh my god, yeah.
Which is funny. And so they're dancing to Zoot Suit Riot, I think? No, it's not Zoot Suit Riot. It's another swing dance song, which I remember from my swing dancing days. Will is doing weird extra stuff that is not swing dancing, and I'm like, just pipe the fuck down. But it's nice, and Sue's like, I'm no longer going to destroy Glee Club. I'm in love. And then Rod is...
She has a heart.
And they play Battleship, and she's just in love.
Can we, like, first talk about... So when Rod asks her, he's like, I swing. My first thought was not swing dancing. It was the other thing. Children, please plug your ears. I'm talking about sex. And sex with multiple people. This is exactly what I thought. And even I remember thinking that the very first time I saw it, I thought about this time, and then I was like, oh no, like they're literally talking about dance. I thought it was gonna be that she thought he meant dance, and he actually meant like swinging with other people.
Wait,
But he
that's
kind
okay.
of did.
Well, hold on. What, Alyssa?
Teach me. I don't know what this is.
All right. So.
Oh, you don't know what swinging is?
Okay, so swinging is it's I think a lot of like married couples usually.
I think
but
it's specifically for married couples.
Yeah,
Typically,
so
the term
basically in a swing group, you have these married couples who then agree to like switch partners, and I don't know if there's so much like orgies involved, but I think it's mostly like switching partners. So yeah, you just kind of sure that's what
Spice up the sex life.
So if anyone asks you if you swing, definitely be sure to ask them you mean dancing or sex.
Well, seeing as I'm not married.
True. So if you
Yeah.
get married, well, I don't know. Like, do you think they would invite like just like other couples
Yeah. Like unmarried
or like
couples?
unmarried couples? I don't know. I only know that it's sex with other people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And which Rod is having because he's cheating on Sue.
And that's why I thought like, oh, Sue is misreading the situation, but no, she read it correctly, and her suit was fantastic.
She has a zoot suit made.
She looks like a gangster from the 20s.
She does.
It was awesome.
Great.
So
yeah. But Rod's cheating on her. He's like, I can't be caged in. That's why I have a tiger tattoo. Even my late wife who drowned and left me a condo knew that.
I actually laughed out loud at that. The tiger tattoo. I was like, wow, that's gonna be me one day.
Tiger blood.
Oh my gosh.
So Sue is heartbroken, and she responds by punishing a child and kicking Quinn off the Cheerios.
I mean, yeah, that's another thing. It's like it's definitely seen as like a punishment from her own personal problems, but like Quinn kind of had to leave Cheerios.
Yeah.
Which like that's why like I understood it, but it did really suck. But also like Quinn knew that was gonna happen. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought it already happened.
I did too. I was like, maybe she's just allowed to wear the uniform, and I'm like, oh nope, she has to give back her uniform, and her being in civilian clothes is very strange.
I was so thrown off by her new hairstyle.
It's down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh what? My gosh.
Down in a headband.
Yeah, I don't support the headband.
It makes her look like very innocent.
Yes, it makes her look like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And I guess like that's a kind of her shtick. Like she's like daddy's little girl type, but like at school, I don't know. But,
I don't know. I just thought it was weird. Like maybe she had it up because she was exercising a lot, and now she's apparently not, just because she's not a cheerleader anymore.
The cheerleaders always have their hair up.
Yeah. So I don't think we talk about it in the first season, but I know it comes up that like the Cheerios have a very strict uniform policy, diet, hairstyle. Like you literally can only wear your Cheerios uniform, a certain type of shoe and socks, and you always have to have it in a high pony, always.
Ugh.
So yeah, that's why. Yeah, but she does it like it's not bad. It's just different,
Yeah,
and I
very
have
different.
to get used to it. You know, she just has to accept that I have to get used to it. Also, headbands will become very important in a later costume.
Yeah.
I just like pointed at Cullen. Cullen's like, yes, I know what you're talking about. Also, headbands I think was a thing in like the vitamin D number of Halo, right? I think they had headbands
Halo.
with all those fucking ugly yellow dresses, and they were all different. And the one looked like a muumuu, and yeah.
I hated that.
I love that number.
Well, the number was fine, but the costumes were atrocious.
Yes.
So, I know we were going to talk about Puck and Rachel. I think we skipped over that.
Yeah,
But
I think that the only thing left is Puckleberry, as the
hate
fandom
it.
called them.
I hate it.
Yeah, so Puck had a dream after his mother scolded him for not dating Jewish girls.
Well, wait, they were watching Schindler's List,
List.
over TV, no, over like Chinese food or something.
Yeah.
And this little sister like runs out of the room when someone gets shot, and he's just like, whatever. I laughed really hard at that.
And his mom's like,
Because
"You're just
Puck
like
is
them,
Jewish.
Noah."
Puck
Yeah.
is Jewish.
Half Jewish.
Half Jewish.
Yeah.
But his mother's Jewish, which I think is in Jewish culture the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah, but he considers himself half Jewish.
Yeah. And I do love that Rachel is the only one that calls him Noah.
I also like that.
Yeah.
It's like a weird intimacy that like I don't mind, but the fact that it's Puck and then also it's Rachel together, I don't care for. But the intimacy is interesting.
So he has a dream of Rachel climbing into his window, and he's like, Rachel's a hot Jew, and the good Lord wants me to get into her pants. I don't know if Jews
Gross.
call God the good Lord, though. That seemed like a very Southern Christian thing to do, but okay.
Yeah.
Yahweh?
What?
Yahweh?
I don't think Jews use that name because it's so
Anymore? Yeah, no, that's Hebrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Hebrew.
That's the language.
Yeah.
It was like...
Is it like the cultural term?
That's like his OG name.
That's God's OG name.
Yeah.
It means I am.
Yeah, I
like in
remember
The Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah.
Of course, if you haven't seen that movie, you have to see it.
Beautiful,
Plug
wonderful.
for Prince of Egypt.
Just so good. So good.
By DreamWorks. We're talking about the DreamWorks animated film.
Prince of Egypt on our podcast about Glee. After we just had our Judaism corner. Back to the show.
Yeah.
None of us are Jewish.
None of us are Jewish. Yeah, so he starts dating. He's like, oh, this is funny because they're like rehearsing together, and it cuts to him playing guitar and Rachel singing into a hairbrush.
All right.
What a girl wants.
Here it is. Time out. Hannah's second Rachel similarity. Hannah had that exact orange hairbrush in high school. I am Rachel Berry. Hello.
It was great.
I also hated the fact that they were like making out, and I hated the fact they were together, and I just didn't like it.
Yeah, he's
Because
like,
Puck is the worst.
he's like, want to make out, and she's like, but she's secretly still in love with Finn, so she's like, I can't date a guy who doesn't have the courage to do a solo in Glee Club, and he's like, are you questioning my badassness? Have you seen my guns? And she's like, your arms are lovely, Noah, but
It's like weirdly sweet. Like I like that, but I don't like them. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes
No.
sense.
He also, it's like such a Rachel Berry thing to say, even though like she's like, I believe that is exactly what she means, but also she means that she's talking about Finn too.
Yeah.
But like, I believe that she would be like, I can't be with someone who isn't brave enough to do a solo in Glee Club. I'd be like, yeah, you're Rachel Berry. Of course not. You need a fellow leading man. I get it. But it had some double meaning there. Just fun.
He sings Sweet Caroline.
So.
Which was supposed to be a mashup, and then wasn't.
So so that actually, I was really confused, and then it literally took me to the end of the episode to figure out why they were doing mashups. So he was like, here's Bust a Move. You guys need to find a song that you think will go with it. What ended up happening was, it was just a bunch of pointless musical numbers that had nothing to do with the title, really. So, yeah, it was confusing.
But during that scene, doesn't Shu say, like, didn't anyone make a mashup? And then he gets up and sings Sweet Caroline. And I was like, that's not a mashup.
No, he's like, this is my song that we might be able to mash up. Like, that was their task, was to find a song they could mash up with Bust a Move. They failed.
Not to actually make the mashup.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I get
which
it.
is pointless.
Yeah.
But, so, I went to see Trevor Noah, hot brag, and he actually made a whole bit about Sweet Caroline being like, every white person knows the song and will sing along to it when they hear it. And I felt personally attacked because
That's true.
I literally was like, he actually did the bit and he like started singing it, and then everyone in the audience sang along. And then when it was happening in Glee, I was like, I hate that I'm doing like ba ba ba. I can't help it. It's in my blood.
Yeah, and Finn is jealous because Rachel's falling over Puck, and I'm like, gross.
Can we also talk about the face journeys? There are 3 women having 3 different face journeys. Rachel is like really impressed with Puck and is like, oh my god. And then Quinn is like in love with Puck and kind of like feasting over him. And then Santana's like disgusted because she's like, wait a second, why is he singing to Rachel? He's kind of like my man. Very, very interesting face journeys.
Santana has a lot of. She has usually the best reactions
I love
to
Santana.
people singing because it's usually like, what the fuck?
Complete, utter disdain. She's like, I don't want to be here. Right now, at least. So wait a second. I just saw one that we may have skipped over. I don't remember where it came in, though. I think this was after Sue got dumped by Rod, but she's like threatening Sue, and she's like, I'm gonna go to a shelter and get you a kitty cat. I will let you fall in love with that kitty cat, and then one night I will steal away into your home and punch you in the face. That is the greatest line, and I literally quoted along to it because I remembered that. Like, that is my namesake character. Yes. So good. Oh
it's a great line. I love that line.
But yeah,
Thank you for remembering it. I'd be upset if we forgot it.
I literally just like hated all of Shu singing in this episode because it was too much, it was too inappropriate, and frankly, no one needed to see it.
No one wanted it.
No one asked for it.
Well, because he's like, oh, do I need to sing again? And Mike goes like, he's like, no. Slices his throat, like, no. And I'm like, Mike is me.
Mike knows. And then he does. And then we're all like, why? I hate you.
So Puck and Rachel's relationship is doomed. Puck gets slushied. And he's like, I'm sorry I gave you slushies before. And then he chooses Glee over football. And he's watching football, and Rachel's like, you did it for Quinn, didn't you? Because you love Quinn. And he's like, I was going to break up with you anyway. And Rachel's like, no, you weren't. And he's like, I'm a stud, and I can't even keep a girl like you, and no offense. And she's like, that's because you're kind of a jerk. No offense. And I'm like, yes.
And his name is Noah.
Noah?
No offense.
No.
You know how people misspell things like bon appetit?
Bon appetit.
Yeah, exactly. No offense. Nailed it.
So Rachel's like, yeah, like we wouldn't have worked anyway, and he's mad that she's in love with Finn, but like she's like, I hope we can still be friends, and he's like, we weren't friends before, and he sulks off, and I'm like, oh, you're still the worst. And
yeah.
That's the end of all the subplots, really.
Yeah, I don't think there's really more. Like, it's literally all my notes are just like, ugh, she was singing again. And he's being inappropriate with the children. And yeah. So, should we do our what would we Gleeboot? What would we do from this episode? What should we keep? What should we get rid of?
I already asked my question with the Sue stuff. Oh, though, here I do have this question. Would you keep a Will, Emma, Ken kind of love triangle?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, same.
Absolutely not.
No. I would just focus on the children. Like, yeah, I would just focus on the kids. I would barely have adults. They just need to be there so that we know that someone is watching them and keeping them safe. Other than that, they don't really need to be part of anything.
I mean, you can give some of their attributes to kids. Like, it might be interesting to have a kid character who has the same sort of OCD problems as Emma.
Yeah.
But they would be a kid.
What are your Gleeboot questions?
I just... I'm gonna be honest, I did not prepare them. Because I forgot that was a thing. I'm the worst.
Also did not.
That's fine. We can do that next episode. Like, no
cool.
pressure. Favorite song or least favorite song?
Mine was tied for Thong Song and Bust a Move. I couldn't pick which was worse. Equally terrible.
Oh yeah, they're both so bad.
I'm gonna go with Thong Song.
Yeah.
Because it's just gross. I don't like it.
I chose Bust a Move because of the choreography. But yeah, Thong Song is like, it's just a gross song. And also the choreography is gross.
I just feel like when God or Anubis is examining my heart at the end of my life, they're going to see scars on it from listening to both those songs.
That was perfect.
God or Anubis.
I love how it was that God or Anubis.
Or Anubis.
Best song.
Keep Holding On.
Obviously.
I love that song.
Obviously. The Avril Lavigne classic.
I love Avril Lavigne. I love that song. That's even better than the original. It's a great song. I fuck with that song so hard.
And, like, it's got good context. Like, the context means something, and I appreciated that.
It's one of my favorite Glee songs of all time.
Yeah,
That's
same.
top 5.
All right, Alyssa, what's your fave song?
I really liked Emma's Fantasy World song.
Okay.
Good choice.
I did.
Yeah. I mean, she did a really good job. Like, I totally forgot that was even a number. And, like, hearing her voice. Because the only thing I remember her singing is, like, in a couple, I think next season. I think next season. And I don't really remember what she sounded like. So it was, like, really cool to hear her voice.
Yeah, I think it was good. I like the whole idea behind it, where, like I explained before, where it's actually her fantasy. She's living it out, and we get to see that. And she has, like I said, an awesome voice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my favorite.
Cool.
Who is your least valuable player of these 2 episodes?
Shu. Like,
yeah.
oh
my God.
There's no one else who's worse than him, I don't think. Like, even, like, Terry wasn't even in this most recent one that we just talked about, and she was in Throwdown, but, like, she wasn't super terrible, I guess, in that one.
And this isn't the worst of Puck.
Right, this is not the worst of Puck, which is crazy. Because he was still kind of an asshole.
I have stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was also, like, terrible before, and he will still be
next couple episodes.
Yes, I just, like, had, like, a flash of, like, you have stuff to look forward to.
So
MVP.
Will.
Wait,
what about Will? Will's definitely my LVP.
Yeah, he's just the worst.
Mm-hmm. Him and his
just too much R&B, too much existing. I just can't.
Too much sexualizing teens.
And sexualizing an almost married woman. It's just too much. All right. MVP.
Oh, this is hard.
Mine came to me so quickly, and I really don't even know why, but I'm going to stand by it. I chose Mike Chang, and then I wrote, for knowing how to pop and lock and loving it.
Okay. I don't know these beforehand, but when we, like, discuss, I, like, know. But I'm like...
Yeah, I don't I'm not really sure.
I
Usually
think
I can like look at the episode and be like, yeah, that's the person. But
that's why I picked Mike, was because like I was like, he's the only one I could actually think of, because like everyone else is kind of like whatever, and I was like, I guess I'll choose him. He stands out right now.
I'm gonna go with Quinn
Okay.
because yeah, she does some bad things. She's worse the next couple episodes, but she's a really pretty crier,
Yeah.
and I think
And that's
like we
really
get to
important in women. They have
That's
to be pretty
important.
criers.
Yeah, if you're not pretty when you're expressing emotion, is your emotion even valid? But like you get to see a deeper side to Quinn. Like you get to see her performance. They saying keep holding on to her. You see Quinn like dethroned from her pedestal, and you see her being vulnerable, and Quinn deserves it. She's pregnant. It's rough.
All right.
I think I'm gonna go with Quinn too. For all of the things that Cullen said. And also, I tend to have, for all you listeners out there, number one, I have a bad memory. And number two, I tend to have a little bit of darkness in my soul. So, I quite enjoyed it when she was thrown from her pedestal.
Nice.
Yeah.
A little bit of darkness.
A little
She
bit.
liked watching her suffer just a little bit.
Hey, I mean, that's, I watch it on TV. I don't go out and enjoy it in the real world.
Oh, that's good.
True, yeah.
That's nice. Alrighty.
Yeah, so do you want to plug our new social medias, Hannah?
Sure. Our social media is going to be at Gleeboot Pod on Instagram, on Twitter, and then I also believe it's the same thing on Tumblr. As of the recording of this episode, we are live, but there's nothing on there. But we will be updating very soon and posting some funny memes and shit and stuff like that, and posting some great stuff. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, you can follow us and yeah, let us know what you think of the podcast.
Yeah, you'll get
Except for the
updates.
sound quality, because we know that as of the publishing of this episode, you might not have liked the sound quality on other episodes, and we understand that. But we thank you for sticking with us.
We are working on it.
As you can tell, hopefully this sounds a lot better.
Yeah, you'll get updates about what we're up to and what Gleeboot the podcast is up to.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right, see you next time. Bye.
Should I stop recording?
Yeah.
Leave that in.